All right, we're back on the big mountain. We have our week 8 picks set and ready to go. I want to go over real quick where we're at so far, Steve. You're sitting at 57% on your spreads and 61% on your locks. Still doing mighty well, even after maybe a little bit of a rough week, but we all have those. I'm at 59% on my spreads and 58% on my locks. Combined here on the mountain, 58% on our spread picks of all the Big Ten, all the Mountain West, the Pac-2, and FSU, and we're 60% on our locks, which is not too shabby, but we're going to try to pop those percentages up in week 8.
Let's get back up over 75% again.
I love it. Let's do it. All right, we're going to start with the Big Ten. Are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
Rock and roll.
Okay, first game of the week, Friday night, Oregon at Purdue. Oregon coming off the big win over Ohio State. I'm taking Oregon. Keep that train chugging along. I'm taking Oregon minus 27.5. I like Oregon to cover here. Purdue had a big week this last week.
Yeah.
They scored a lot of points against Illinois. That was the first time they had done that all year. So they got off the schneid. I don't see them being able to do that again. I think the talent differential is so big here. Illinois is a good, solid Big Ten team, but Oregon is a national championship contender, and I think they want to keep the pedal to the metal at this point. They've never really shown where any point where they want to take their foot off the gas. I'm not going to lock it just because it's such a big line.
Yes.
Close to 4 touchdowns, but I like the pick. We're just going to keep it as a regular pick. Oregon to cover the 27.5.
Okay, yeah, big line, and Purdue was one of your lockbusters last week after what they did to Illinois, which was mighty disappointing. I don't know what happened to them, but let's figure that's just an oops week, and off they go. Oregon's going to roll here against Purdue. So, pick number 2 in the Big Ten.
Okay, so moving right along, UCLA traveling all the way across the country to Piscataway, New Jersey to face Rutgers. I'm going to go ahead and take the Rutgers minus 4.5. Take them to cover the points. UCLA is making another cross-country trip. Their travel schedule has been terrible, and they just haven't performed well this year. Rutgers just is what Rutgers is. I'm not, and I'm a little scared off. They were kind of shown to be a one-dimensional team, so I'm a little scared off from locking this game, which is why I didn't. But, all things being equal, Rutgers should win this game. They should win it by about a touchdown or less, so I feel good about the 4.5. Not good enough to lock it.
Okay.
Just because, a little gun shy with them. We saw when you can shut down their run game, their passing game is not going to do enough to score a lot of points. But the thing about UCLA is you really shouldn't have to score a lot of points. So I think... here's the thing: I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
The spread's only 4.5.
Yeah.
UCLA is coming across the country, and I think Rutgers is just a little bit better team right now. That's why I'm picking them to cover that 4.5.
I agree. I like it. Rutgers has been a team we've been picking and been doing mighty well on. Massive, again, stinker. I think I'm going to say that on every one of your picks. But just a weird week last week.
Thank you.
Just a weird week with them. Just completely blown out. It was just a silly game. But again, they're home, and I think you like to say Piscataway.
Yes, Piscataway.
Because you say that every time.
Piscataway, New Jersey.
Yeah,
it's just a cool word. It just flows,
it's an interesting word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Rutgers at 4.5. I'm personally, I am not going to be scared off by last week because that wasn't a normal Rutgers week. Yeah. And I will bet this game, and I will bet the Rutgers line here. I like that line for a home game in Piscataway. So we have a lot of people doing some shout-outs about where they're at. It's getting a little chilly out. We are certainly in fall weather right now. They said it's 68 in San Antonio, and people are bundling up like they're in the North Pole.
This is the time of year to be in San Antonio, in my mind. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks for everybody for chatting in here. You guys have fun with each other. We'll get to some of your chats here in a little bit, and we're going to have Steve keep rolling on pick 3.
So my next game, Wisconsin at Northwestern. I'm taking Wisconsin to cover the 7.5. Honestly, Wisconsin, they finally have shown some life in the offense, which is what we've been asking them to do for 2 years.
Yeah.
They haven't done it. They're starting to show some life. Both of these teams have been a little inconsistent, a little bit disappointing this year. I like the trend that Wisconsin's on, and I think that they're a better team than Northwestern. So I'm taking them to cover the 7.5. I didn't lock it because it's just over the touchdown. If you could get it at 6.5, if the line moves, I would love it, absolutely love it at just under the touchdown. So I'm going to pick Wisconsin to cover the 7.5. I'm not going to lock it, but if you can find it for under a touchdown, I would jump on it, grab it all day.
You just are hating on Northwestern again.
Well, it's worked out most weeks this year.
I know, but I want them to win, so that you got to wear that damn hat.
I'll do it.
That's what I want.
I'll do it.
So, okay. All right, so we're on 3. We're on 4. Pick number 4.
So pick number 4. So here's the thing. Indiana, okay? That's why I didn't do well last week, because Indiana didn't play. They were on a bye. They've been my gravy train all this week.
That totally threw you off.
So, and I know we have some Cornhusker fans that are going to be shouting Big Red at me, and we've been on Nebraska too. Nebraska is traveling to Indiana. I'm going to go ahead and take Indiana to cover the 6.5 points, and I'm making it my first Big Mountain ice cold lock. I've been high on both of these teams all year. This is not a knock on Nebraska all year. Both have overperformed. I do think Dylan Raiola has maybe come back to earth a little bit. I think some teams have figured out how to mix some zone coverage, some man-to-man, and just kind of keep them guessing. He's come back to earth. I like Nebraska as a team, but to me, Indiana, I'm going to just keep riding that train.
Yeah.
They have everything going. Kurt Cignetti, I've been calling him the mad scientist from the beginning of the year. And Curtis Rourke, I mean, he's just efficient. To me, Curtis Rourke looks like an NFL quarterback that somehow got one more year of eligibility in college. He doesn't have the biggest arm in the world, but he has plenty enough talent. He's so experienced. He's the perfect match with Kirk Cignetti and this offense. We talk about that so much. When you can match up a head coach, especially an offensive head coach, with a quarterback that suits, they can do amazing things. Indiana has continued to do amazing things all season, and I don't think their momentum is stopping. I love them to beat Nebraska by more than a touchdown, probably into double digits. And again, not a knock on Nebraska at all, because I think Nebraska will continue to win a lot of games this year, continue to have improvement. This is much more about Indiana and the momentum they have, and just, the quality. Their wide receivers they have, the running game, again, the quarterback play. They're only really the only chink in their armor, I would say, is their running game, and I really haven't noticed Nebraska in any of their games having just a running game that's hard to deal with. They're not a Michigan, so to speak. So, any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to do a shout out here to a couple people. So Spencer says he gives you a fun fact, fun betting fact. Nebraska has not beaten a ranked team on the road since 2011. So that goes down with at least Indiana winning the game. I don't know about the spread pick there. And I was interested in this game for you because I know you like both teams. And I'm not surprised you picked Indiana. I don't want to say I'm surprised that you locked it because I know you're very high on Indiana. But the fact that I knew you were high on both teams and you like both teams, I wasn't sure which way you were going to go. But you're sticking with the Cignetti, the Rourke, the just team that is the Hoosiers. They're coming off the bye, right? So you think they should be feeling pretty good about themselves. And we haven't gone wrong yet with the Hoosiers, and you're going to keep going. I do want to give a quick shout out. Was it Eddie W. Says that NIU would look mighty good in the Mountain West. I don't disagree with that, and we're going to get to some NIU discussions and Mountain West discussions later in the show. So hang with us, Eddie, and anybody else that's on for NIU, Mountain West, ads, rumors, all that jazz. We'll get to that here in a little while.
John and Clint, they think Nebraska's got this. They think they're going to curb stomp Indiana. Clint says Nebraska by 14 plus. Here's the thing: Indiana has not trailed yet this season.
That's crazy talk.
I'm pretty sure they're 6-0 against the spread, depending on where you look at when the line closed. So I feel really good about Indiana. And again, not a knock on Nebraska.
Sure. Yep. Okay. All right. There's our first Big Mountain Ice Cold block. Steve's getting back on the winning train. Toot, toot. All right. Number 5.
All right. So next game, Michigan at Illinois. I'm taking Illinois plus the 3.5 points, and I'm making this my second Big Mountain Ice Cold lock. I think this is a almost a pick'em game, but I feel more towards Illinois just because I think they're a more balanced team. Michigan just continues to have problems. Their talent level might be overall better than Illinois, but here's the problem: almost all of their talent is focused on. The majority of their talent is focused on the defense. They have no passing game whatsoever. I think Illinois is going to be able to make them completely one-dimensional, which Michigan's kind of made themselves one-dimensional this year. So It's at Illinois. I love them getting the points, and I especially love them getting 3.5 points.
Yes.
Getting over that field goal range, because I think this will be a low scoring game, a close game, and I like Illinois to win. So I'm taking the 3.5 points and I'm locking it up.
So you like Illinois to win straight up?
I like Illinois to win straight up.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
So anybody that likes those money line bets, to get a little extra something there.
Yep.
We don't pick money lines usually, but you like the straight up win there for Illinois.
And I'll definitely probably Friday morning or Friday sometime or Saturday morning, I'll check out that money line. I might drop a little money on the money line.
Okay, all right. 2 locks in a row. Pick 6.
Okay. So moving forward, USC at Maryland. I'm going to go ahead and take USC to cover the 7.5, and I'm making that my third Big Mountain ice cold lock. Maryland just kind of doing what they do every year. They come out of the gate strong and they just kind of peter off in Big Ten play. That's just kind of how it is. And honestly, USC is a good team. They're about some other people have said this, some smart people, I think. USC is about 3 or 4 plays away from being 6-0. They're a really good team. A tough loss to Penn State. They had a tough loss on the road to Michigan. And then that Minnesota game was just a little bit weird. But again, a game that came down to the end. I just think USC is so much better, has so much more talent. Miller Moss is a good quarterback. I mean, Penn State, they gave Penn State everything that they could handle. And I just think they're a lot better team than Maryland. I love them to beat Maryland by probably 10 points or more. And that's why I went ahead and locked USC to cover the 7.5.
Well, look at what Northwestern did.
Yeah.
Just last week. Maryland's a little bit on the ropes right now. So, and USC, you could say this is, they're treading on kind of that area where I have them every year. I got high on them, and now they have a couple losses.
Yep.
And I don't think they're going to lose to Maryland, but to me, they're always just this fragile team that they have these high expectations, and then when they don't meet them, they fold in. I'm going to be anxious to see here with USC. They should dominate Maryland. They should. Now, I know they're going cross country again.
Yes,
this is one of those teams that's just back and forth all over the damn place. But they're going cross country, so that's a bit of an issue they'll have to deal with. But talent-wise, I mean, they should annihilate Maryland.
Totally agree. And I'll just say, from watching the game, I watched every minute of that USC Penn State game. I don't see USC as being fragile whatsoever. That was a heavyweight fight, a knockout, drag down fight, and they were tons of heart. A good team. I mean, again, gave Penn State everything they can. I think they're a really good, solid team. And again, a team in their first year in the Big Ten where they have to do a lot of cross-country travel. They're just a few possessions away from being 6-0. Okay. So I love them. But we'll see. That the travel thing has been, a lot of people have made a big deal. I think the team that's 3-13 or something in the Big Ten when you're crossing more than 2 time zones. But when you look at it, a lot of that is the favorites were winning those games.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
We've never experienced this before. This is the first year.
Yep.
And if USC does come in and have a letdown game after playing Penn State and traveling across the country, then maybe we will have to reevaluate that a little bit more when you have a more talented team making that trip across the country.
Well, I can tell you, you've gone 3 ice cold locks in a row.
Yep.
Got a little 50-50 in the chat on your Nebraska, Indiana.
Yeah.
But you have had pretty much everyone agreeing with you on the Illinois lock and the USC lock.
Yep.
So the Big Mountain dwellers are in full agreement with your second and third lock. That's for sure. So, all right. Going to number 7.
All right. Number 7 here. And I see David Jorgensen. I knew he was going to be... when I made this pick, I was actually thinking about David Jorgensen as I was typing this up because I knew he was going to be disappointed. And again, I get it. Nebraska, solid defense. And I agree. I think this is probably going to be the best team that Indiana has faced. So we'll see. But I'm not jumping off of that. Honestly, I'm not going to jump off the Indiana train until they lose or at least don't cover.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So moving forward, Iowa at Michigan State. I'm going to go ahead and take Iowa to cover the 5.5. I'm not locking this. I was really impressed by Iowa this last week. Mm-hmm. They had been such a one-dimensional offense, and then all of a sudden they've got a passing game. They're doing all kinds of things on offense. They're playing complementary football. Had their best game of the season this last week, playing fantastic. And the thing with Michigan State, it's just so hard to tell. They're First year rebuilding. They're kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team. We talked about that in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
They have a lot of potential, and sometimes they kind of, I think, overperform what I'm expecting. And so that's really the only reason I didn't lock it, because I feel very confident about Iowa winning the game. But I'm almost a little worried it could be like one of those low-scoring games.
Yeah.
And Michigan State just stays pesky, and it comes down to like a field goal game. So I am going to pick Iowa to cover the 5.5, but I'm not locking it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, they were impressive last week. Iowa, that is. So, yeah. Okay. You have one more. The team that you have adopted.
Yes.
And I don't know which way you're going to go with it.
Well, I don't think you're going to like the pick.
Probably
Let's just
not.
say that. So, again, Florida State, it's been so hard this year. They have, they came in with the highest of expectations possible, come in the ACC, and really just crap the bed out of the gate. I will say, since they made the quarterback change, or since DJU had a hand injury and another guy's been playing, Brock, I think is his name, I've seen a little bit of a change, a turn in direction. It almost kind of feels like the worm is turning. Duke has come out, Manny Diaz, they've come out, they've played well this season.
Yeah.
But just the way these teams are trending, I like FSU to win, so I'm going to go ahead. I think it's a close game. I think it's close to a coin flip, but I think FSU wins. So I'm going to go ahead and take FSU plus the points, plus the 3.5, but nowhere near enough confidence to lock it.
Oh, Steve, you just keep going back to that well.
Yeah, I picked against them a couple times, and
You did.
yeah,
And you should keep doing it.
yeah. Well,
I mean, I don't know. I got nothing to say.
Okay.
I have zero. Well, no, I do have something.
Okay,
to say.
all right.
I have zero faith in FSU to do anything good, and I would never pick. I'd pick the other team no matter what the spread is, because I don't like what FSU is doing at all. They're a shambles of a team.
They are, but like I said, I think they've been trending back in the direction, especially since the quarterback change.
Who do you think wins straight up?
I think FSU wins straight up.
Steve,
Yeah,
Steve,
I do.
I hope you're right, but I think you're wrong.
Okay. I get it. There's no, just like FSU is the exact opposite of Indiana. Just like I totally understand. Like, I'm not getting off that Indiana train because it just has so much momentum. They just keep covering.
Okay.
And I can get the opposite vibe from you on Florida State. You're never going to get on that Seminole train this year because of the vibe going the other way.
100%.
But sometimes you got to. Who Spence says Steve's loyal to FSU. Honestly, I've picked against them a couple times this year. So
you picked them more than I would have.
I
But
get
that's
that.
okay.
Yep.
You're still going, I think. Well, who cares? We're not talking about ACC crap. We're done with FSU. Sorry, any of FSU fans, but that's not what we do here on the Big Mountain. I want you to read Mike to Michael, though, because he lost some bets last week. And now, Steve, he has to wear a Penn State shirt this Saturday, which to you,
I love
would
it.
be fantastic. But I'm guessing he's like a Michigan guy or an Ohio State guy or, some Iowa guy.
So after 6 weeks straight of picking 75% on my locks and a high percentage of my picks, I can't confirm nor deny that I intentionally salvaged my week 7 picks just so Michael would have to wear a Penn State shirt. I'm not going to confirm nor deny that.
I'm going to deny it. All right, let's get to the Mountain West. Are we ready to go Mountain West? And then we're going to go to some fun discussion.
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to hear from some of our people as well, our mountain dwellers. So, all right, we're going to start with Fresno State versus Nevada. I'm going to take the Bulldogs minus 2.5. This line is just too low for me to not take the Dogs. I know they're coming off a disappointing loss against Wazoo. I know their offense is struggling a little bit more than people would like it to be. Mikey Keene is still the quarterback, and they still have a very good defense. Nevada is a good team. I like watching them. I love watching Lewis. He's a fun quarterback to watch. I love the story of that team this year, but I'm sorry, Fresno's the better team. They're the better team. And if I'm only having to lay 2.5 points, oh my gosh, I'm silly to not take the Bulldogs in this. I think this line's a little too low, given that Fresno's sitting at 3-3. They are still a very good team, so I am taking the Bulldogs here minus 2.5.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think there's some people that they see Fresno trending down.
Yes.
The loss to UNLV is one of their losses. It's really good. team, Washington State. So they just lost
Washington
to
State, yep, and then Michigan. So those are their 3 losses.
Yes.
You can't sneeze at those TAs.
No, but I agree with you. So when you look at those 3 losses, I don't think they're bad. I think the point spread is where it is because Vegas kind of just sees them as a trending down school.
Trending down school, and Nevada probably a trending up school.
Right.
I mean, they just beat Oregon State.
Right.
Via 4 turnovers
Yeah.
and a bunch of defense out, and we'll get to Oregon State here in a little while. But yes, I think I'm not locking it, but I really like the Bulldogs. I will bet this game. The next game, I don't like as much. I don't think I'm going to bet it. Hawaii versus Washington State. And yes, Hawaii traveling to Washington State. The line's 18.5, which is, I'll be honest, it's kind of big for me. So I'm going to take the points with the Rainbows. I'm sure our commenters are going to disagree with me on this. I'm just not big on Washington State's defense. And Hawaii does have a good offense when they want to show up. It's Jekyll and Hyde. Could Hawaii get completely blown out? 100% they could get blown out. Is Hawaii going to blow out Washington State? Nope. They're not going to blow out Washington State. But 18.5 points is a lot of points. They have not lost this year by more than 18 points. I know Washington State and Mateer, they've got a good offense. I know all of that. But the Hawaii's defense, the Bows defense is decent. I mean, they did well against Boise last week. They did well against UCLA. I know you're not high on them. Still a Big Ten team.
Yeah.
So it's just too many points that Wazoo's giving up. They're going to win the game. Washington State will win this game. But I got to take the 18.5 with Hawaii because I think they keep it close enough to win this. I know you disagree.
Well, it's not really that I disagree because, 18.5 is a lot of points.
It's a lot of points.
I like that. I like that number of points. But, so not necessarily that I disagree, but I think I feel the same way about Hawaii that you feel about Florida State.
Okay.
Like, I'm just going to pick up against them just because, I feel if you just pick against them all year, you're going to end up on the positive side. So,
okay.
Which is probably how you feel about Florida State.
Yes, 100% how I feel about
Yes,
Florida State.
yeah.
So I if that's how you feel about Hawaii,
Yeah.
I totally know what you're feeling right
Yes.
now. All right, let's go to pick number 3 here. New Mexico versus Utah State. And I went back and forth.
Yeah.
I am not betting this. I am not betting this game. They're going to score a ton of points. I will say we just did a preview video. Ricky Thompson with the Pit Press.
Yes.
The Pit Press podcast. We'll get that out tomorrow. He gave us a lot of information on the Lobos. We talked about Bronco Mendenhall. And at the end, we talk about the Mountain West kind of additions and who may be next. Really good conversation. Very, very good guy. So we'll get that out tomorrow. New Mexico versus Utah State game preview. Oh, Steve. I'm going to take the points with Utah State.
Yeah.
I don't really know why. I don't want to pick the game, but I have to pick the game because that's what we do here on the mountain, or on the Big Mountain. This game, the over-under, I think it started at 77.5. I believe it got up to 79.5. And the point, I don't know what defense is going to stop a drive in this game. This could be scoring points, literally either scoring points on every drive or a turnover on every drive. And that was part of the issue with Utah State last week, was that they just turned the ball over so many freaking times against UNLV. I'm sorry, but the New Mexico defense is the complete opposite of the UNLV defense. And I do think the Utah State defense is better than the Lobo defense. So that's why I'm picking Utah State. If I'm going, they're going to score a lot of points. So that means I got to pick whichever defense is a little less worse. I'm picking the Aggies defense. I could be completely wrong on that, but that was my theory behind picking Utah State.
Yeah, so I would never. I just wouldn't pick this game.
I don't. Yes, I'm picking the game because we are going to pick the game.
Yeah.
I don't like the spread at all.
Yeah.
At 2, it's a great spread.
Right.
It's perfect for Vegas, but I have no idea which way to go on it.
Yeah. So that's just one of those games. It's hard. It's hard to pick. It's hard. I would stay away from betting it, especially the spread. I think there's the money or the over under is just interesting. Such a high, and you think, like Clint says, 79.5 under. I don't know, man. This might be one of those.
I'm not going under.
Yeah. I could easily see. A 40-something game to 40-something game.
Yep.
And which puts you in the 80s, obviously.
I think they're both in the 40s.
Yeah.
I think both offenses score enough points. Utah State, even though they're 1-5, their average points for are in the 30s. I mean, they rarely score below 30 points against teams like UNLV.
Yeah.
That's not the Lobos. These teams will, I'll be shocked if both teams are not in the 40s.
Yeah.
Which means take the over in this game. Spencer says this could be the highest scoring game of all time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen. It's going to be a very high scoring game. So anyway, enough about a game that I really don't want to pick.
Okay.
Let's go to a game that I do want to pick. And that is Wyoming versus San Jose State. This opened at 11.5. It's still at 11.5. I'm sorry, Poke fans, and I know we have a many. I just can't take the Pokes. This offense for San Jose State is too good. I know they had a little bit of a hiccup last week against CSU. I'm hoping their offensive coordinator picks a starting quarterback and lets the freaking kid play the entire game if you're a Spartans fan, because he's screwing up this offense, which I don't know why you would do that. But at 11.5, this is a 2-touchdown win for San Jose State, 2-touchdown plus in my opinion. The YO offense will not keep up with the San Jose State offense. Still a lot of injuries on the Pokes defense, especially, unfortunately, in the secondary, which is where San Jose State will have a day of it. So I've got 11.5 laying on San Jose State. Not going to lock it, but I think this is a bet I will make, even though I'm betting against my Pokes.
Yeah, I mean, both of us were coming into the season. We thought there was going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year for San Jose State, and that was a disappointing loss against Colorado State. So they don't have everything fixed, but man, I think you got to keep riding that Nash and Gash offense.
Oh my gosh.
And just expecting them to put up points.
They're gonna come back. That was not a good game for them. I said this before. I'll be honest with you. This is their last, I'll call it, easy win for San Jose State. After this week, they have a very difficult end to the schedule. Their last 5 games are very difficult for San Jose State. So this is one I'm comfortable picking them. They're going to be harder to pick, especially if their offense hiccups a little bit again. They're going to be hard to pick moving forward because they play a lot more harder teams.
We talked about San Jose State screwing up their quarterback situation. I did see some rumblings on Twitter this week on some Wyoming coverage that they may have a little bit of a quarterback controversy, trying to figure out who. Maybe not who's going to be the starter, but if they're going to use 2 guys, who should be the starter, all that kind of stuff. So, that could be interesting as well.
Yeah. I hate picking against the Pokes, but this is a betting show, not a homer show. So, all right, we're going to go with my last 2. And these are 2 games that I gave you early on. When the lines came out on Sunday, I went, hey, Steve, jump on these 2. One line has not moved. CSU versus Air Force line 7.5. I am taking the Rams minus 7.5. Yes, Torrey Horton is out for the season, and I didn't mention that on our Week 7 recap. And I should have, because it is a massive loss for the Rams. Massive loss for the Rams. But the Rams' running game is actually better than their passing game, which who'd have thunk it? Because their passing game is supposed to be their strength. Fowler Nicolasi hasn't been great this year. Yes, he's had Torrey Horton. Their numbers aren't great. Their running game really is the reason why they beat San Jose State last week, was their running game. Air Force, Steve, we talked about this. They don't have much of an offense. Yes, they scored 30-some points against the Lobos. Just a freak of nature. They did switch quarterbacks. Boucher is out. Your buddy, who you thought could throw, who actually can't throw, is now on the bench. He's not throwing anything. I believe Harris is the name of the new quarterback. I meant to write it down. And he's more of that typical Air Force. He runs. They run the option. It's the Air Force offense we're all accustomed to. So will they maybe score some more points than what they did in the beginning of the season? Maybe, but I will say Colorado State's defense, they held their own against San Jose State. Really, really surprising. I think some of that was, as I said, San Jose State shooting themselves in the foot because they can't figure out who their quarterback's going to be. But still, props to Colorado State for holding them back. This Air Force offense is not San Jose State's offense, and even without Torrey Horton, I think they score enough points to cover this. Again, not going to lock it, but I do like the Rams at minus 7.5.
We talked about how you feel about Florida State. And I feel about Hawaii. I think Air Force is one that we can agree on. That I think if you just bet against Air Force every game the rest of the season, you would come out on the positive. So
yeah,
I don't blame you.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Thompson. He says, great show. We appreciate that. We got Cassie. Is that Cassie or Kate? 2 S's. What's that mean?
Probably Cassie.
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 All right. Go Rams. I'm picking the Rams. You got a cool little Ram thing there, too. Look at that little Ram.
Yeah.
That's a cute little Ram. But they need a beefy Ram to go and knock out the Falcons.
2 hearts and a Ram. I'm thinking it's a Cassie.
Okay. All right. Okay. I don't know.
2 hearts and a little sheep emoji.
Okay. So we've got Genetics says he has an update for JY. We'll get to you in just a minute. I got one more pick, Genetics, and then I do want to see what you have to say here. So my last pick, the Wingdinger, if you want to call it that. There's no great games this week in the Mountain West, but this is maybe the most interesting. UNLV versus Oregon State. The line 7.5. We got it at 6.5, and I pounded the crap out of it on Sunday. It only went up 1 point, but I am making it my only Big Mountain ice cold lock. The Beavs, first of all, I'm not super high on them right now, and they are just riddled with injuries on the defense. Yeah. I mean, I think UNLV is going to roll. I see Tommy Gunn saying 45-24. That may not be that far off. I mean, I think, yes, it's up in Corvallis. All right, so I get that. They get that little bit of a home field advantage, or maybe a big home field advantage. But, oh, my goodness, I think this could be a rough game for the Beavs here. And I would like UNLV being a touchdown better, even if the Beavs were healthy. And now they only lose. There's only 1 extra point here with all the injuries that they have. Oh, my goodness. UNLV, lock. I am heavy this game. Probably maybe the heaviest I've been all year. Hopefully it doesn't jinx us. But I love this line. I'm shocked that it's 7.5. This is a double-digit win. And as I said, we've got a 20-point win, 21-point win there from Tommy Gunn. So this could get ugly for Oregon State. So I only got 1 lock, but I am uber comfortable in my lock, Steve.
You know, I think coming into the season and as the first half of the season went on, I call myself a Beaver believer. I think every Beavs fan would agree that their formula for winning is to run the ball well and to play good defense.
Yeah.
Well, with the injuries they have on the defense, the whole defense on the defensive line specifically, they've just not been able to play good defense. I watched a good bit of that Nevada game, and yes, the quarterback did throw 4 interceptions, yeah, including a pick 6. I switched over to that game right as he threw that pick 6. But so that's a huge reason. But their defense is just struggling. It's going to be hard for them, and honestly, UNLV to me is still firing on all cylinders. They lost that close game to Syracuse. Yep. Syracuse is a solid team. I don't knock UNLV for that whatsoever. I just think they're a very good team they're firing all cylinders. They're doing everything well right now. They're playing good defense. They have a dynamic quarterback. They can score. They're just doing everything right. And the Beavs are kind of limping into this game. So yeah. I agree with you on the pick, and I agree with you on kind of the surprise of the spread.
Yeah, I'm really surprised by the spread. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised by it.